Whether it makes you laugh, cry, scream, or fly, there's a song for every emotion. We're Mike and Priya and Scott,
Yeah.
and we talk about the songs that make up the soundtrack to your life, because life is in the lyrics.
All right, little listeners, I am trying to keep it in my pants right now because we have a goddamn amazing guest today who I have been wanting to have on the show since like the very beginning. And now it's finally happening. Finally.
Look at us making dreams come true here on Life is in the Lyrics.
Quit wasting time, Mike. Let's introduce this superstar guest that we have so we can get right into it.
All right. Sorry for saying we make dreams come true for you.
Yes, I know. We know all that. Okay. This man here is married to one of my best friends. And she's been one of my best friends for like 35 years, something like that. Insane. He is one of my best friends. He's one of the most talented people I know, and he's a truly incredible actor and musician and a fucking amazing live performer. Okay, his new band is called Fresh Horses, and they've got an album coming out this month, folks.
Yes, and not only is he an incredible musician.
Yes.
He's an incredible actor, and he plays fan favorite Victor on the hit show From.
That's right.
That's filmed right here in Canada, in Halifax. And the fourth season just dropped, and its first episode is out.
Yeah. So we had his daughter, my goddaughter, as a guest on this very podcast ages ago to talk about the Eras tour. And today we are so stoked to have Scott McCord join us. Welcome, Scott.
Welcome.
Good. I'm applauding you guys.
Well,
Everyone listening, please give it up for Mike and Priya.
Do we have any cheering sounds?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, listen, I'm very, very grateful to be here with you. I love you both as people.
Aw.
And I also love you both as hosts of this amazing show. And I think the world of you. And I would say, keep it in your pants.
Yeah.
I mean,
you may need it later.
Yeah,
Please.
it's in there for now. I just have one quick question for you. I know you love us both, but you do love me more, right?
Can you? Yeah, I'll just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Can he hear me?
No, he can't hear you. Don't worry.
Can he?
No.
Is he able to? Okay.
What's going on? What's happening?
Yeah.
No, nothing.
Nothing. We're
Love you,
back.
Mike.
We're back.
Nothing.
We all love each other equally.
Okay.
Yes.
Everyone
Yeah.
loves
We
each
do
other
indeed.
equally.
We do indeed.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. So listen, I have known Scott for, Scott, how long have we known each other? Like 20 years?
I would. It's been over. As a matter of fact, I think Priya would be. It might be. It was 20 years last year.
Ooh.
Mm.
Is that right? Does that seem right?
That does seem right because
I think it is.
Maya's almost
was-
17.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
So we're
kind of how we
looking at-
can figure out the timeline. It's been a long
Yeah.
time.
It's been a long time.
Yes. So Kelsey, I have known for about 30 years. And then I met Scott when they started dating. And I'm going to tell you that it was when I first saw Scott perform live that I was like, I get it, Kels. I get it.
Oh,
This guy.
Stop it.
No,
Stop it, I
Scott,
like it.
I've told you this before, and I'm telling the world now that watching you perform live as a singer musician is really, there are few performers who have that kind of charisma on stage. So that was when I was like, yep, Kels, I approve.
Yeah.
And that's when she finally took the relationship seriously. I don't know if you know that. Once she had my approval.
I remember something like that. I was also doing a lot of cocaine back then. So it'd be cool.
So you maybe don't remember any of that.
I don't.
Well-
no, thank you very much. That's a very lovely thing to say. Now, can I ask though,
Yeah.
to my memory?
Yeah.
Was that karaoke? that we were
No.
doing? No.
It was with Ruby's Chaos, I think. Or was it with
Oh,
yeah.
Ruben Cherry, you mean?
Sorry.
The Ruben.
Was it
Ruben
with
Cherry?
it was with Ruben Cherry up
Yeah.
on College Street on the second floor. Octopus Lounge? Was
The Orbit Room, which I don't
Fucking
know if
bad.
that's even. That was a
Around anymore.
great space and a great space to see a band that was
Yeah.
run by Tim. Oh God, for many years. I think it's closed now.
It was a
great
great
place to go and see a band. Yeah.
really great sound system there. And yeah, it was
Yeah.
just such an intimate little
Intimate. Yeah.
place to see live music. You really got surrounded
Right.
by the sound. It was great.
Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
No,
in the day?
no, but
Orbit
I'm
Room? Yeah.
no, I'm having a flashback, and I don't know if I've created this in my head, but did we go and see you, Scott, and your band at what was that place on Queen Street? The Cadillac
Yes,
Cadillac
Cadillac
Lounge?
Yeah,
Lounge.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
I
You would have
we
seen that would have been the bona fide truth band, the
Okay.
Yeah.
eight-piece band with horns and stuff.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, that would have
remember
been.
I remember going there to see you live.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was probably my favorite venue to play live
Yeah.
because it's, Sam Grosso, who is still doing music events, he ran that place for many years, and we were lucky. That was one of those things. I think Priya knew this, where he really gave us a lot of opportunity there. We did
Mhm.
a kind of residencies there where we would work on
Mhm.
new material, and then he moved us into Saturday nights, and he just supported us. He was just
Yeah.
really good to us there, and that really brought in a great crowd that place,
Mhm.
on some
Mhm.
nights because that had a Stones place across the street.
Yes,
Do you remember
across
Yeah.
that?
yeah.
And you'd always get this late night spillover at
Mhm.
some point when that place would close down, and then all of a sudden you'd be playing. The Cadillac Lounge would just pack out. And
Yeah.
they also had a great time, if you remember, a back patio that he would put
Yes, I
live
do.
music on.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was one of
yeah.
the great purveyors, is that the word,
Yeah.
of the live music
Mm.
scene. And when he had to, I don't know if the place, does it still run as the
I
Cadillac Lounge?
don't
No.
No,
know.
I think it's closed. I don't know if it's still a live venue for
Yeah, I
music,
don't
but
think
I'm
it
pretty
is,
sure
right? Yeah.
Cadillac Lounge closed a couple of years ago. As I was, going through the various links that came up for me as I was doing my research, there's a lot on Reddit about you. You have got
Oh,
a
Oh, is that
serious
right?
interesting.
there's a lot of discussion about Scott McCord. The
Oh, dear.
fans, they're pretty hardcore. They love you. And there's
Reddit
this
is generally, that's my understanding of Reddit. Reddit is hardcore, is it
Yeah,
not?
yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I was on this one thread where it was just like people sharing, did you know that he did the voice for this? And he's also, and it started out with people talking about the show
Mm,
From and your character
mhm.
on From,
Hmm.
and then finding out that you did all of this voice work, and then finding out that you also are a musician. And
Right.
there's the responses are like, what?
Right.
Seriously? Oh my God. And then people are really
Oh,
getting
wow.
into the dialogue. So there you go.
It's so strange to hear that too, to know that
Yeah.
there's these like discussions going on
Yeah.
online. But that's great in a way too. To go talk about the animation thing very quickly too. I just came back from a convention in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and was brought in for From, but more specifically even for an animated series that I was very blessed to be a part of, and it was very popular. And
Paw
and
Patrol?
yes,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. And I'm always reminded too, because I'm doing less of that now here in New York, but I'm of that of I was meeting a lot of people throughout the weekend who would
Mhm.
come up, and of course, some of them are, I mean, now they're in their 30s, or they'll come up and they'll go, this show was my childhood. This was,
Yeah.
and I wasn't expecting that. That was just
Right.
so amazing, and that they have, their kids, let's say, onto some of that stuff. One of the shows that
Right.
I did in Canada there for a long time, is Priya will remember as well, was a show called Total
Total
Drama
Drama
Island,
Island. Yeah.
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is still, Netflix acquired it, I think, back in 2000, at the end of the like 2017 or something like that. Right,
Mhm.
it was before the pandemic, and it that's huge.
Hmm.
Netflix got it on there, and it all of a sudden started to have a life. My own daughter started to watch it,
Mm.
and got hooked for a while, and again, this most recent convention that I did, it was the same thing. More people coming up, one after the other,
Mhm.
going, total drama, but little ones.
Mm.
And so I would ask,
Oh,
and the parents, and they would be like, "Oh yeah, I watch it on Netflix." And I
Yeah.
knew, so this whole new generation of fans for some of these for these projects and stuff. It's amazing,
Yeah.
You would just think, with everything that's out there, how
yeah.
dense it is.
Yeah.
How dense isn't even the word anymore. It's just so, that when somebody
Saturated.
comes
Like
up, it's
it's completely saturated
saturated.
market, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that they would come up and have that, to be like, "Hey, I'm such a fan of it." And sometimes even these shows that didn't have the, let's even say, the international sales and the exposure that other shows did, and people come up and go, "Oh yeah,
Mhm.
uh, I grew up loving that cartoon," and I go,
Mhm.
"Really?
So
Wow,
Yeah.
you guys had it here? You had it here in Florida?" Yeah, yeah.
let me ask you about that because
Amazing.
you're saying that you've had people, of different generations comment
Yes.
on the same show. What I often wonder this when I see actors' interviews or musicians' interviews, somebody, for example, maybe like Elton John, where, some people have just discovered his music because he's done duets with Dua Lipa or Britney Spears lately. So, what does it feel like to have somebody, first of all, that is older who says, I grew up listening to your music or watching you on
Yeah.
TV, and then to have younger people, like, just to have that spread of age groups coming to you and recognizing you for the same piece of work.
You know
What
what
does
it
that feel
feels? This
like?
is great. You know what word pops in my head is lucky.
Oh,
And I
okay.
know that's one that we hear a lot of nowadays with, especially, yeah, anyone, who gets to the, let's say the end of their career, and that they'll usually say that, like, here I am, I'm still working, I'm doing this. And while I feel like there's this weird feeling of me even still just starting, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
From felt even like a new beginning
Hmm.
of the career, which it is in many ways. But yeah, that's a great question. I feel incredibly lucky. Um, I feel like there's just something about, and especially I'll speak directly about these convention settings, because what you're getting the opportunity to do is that you wouldn't get these exchanges really anywhere else. Running into people in the streets, a different thing. But
Mm-hmm.
when it's a more focused sort of thing that's set up in a way where you have time with some of these people, you
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
can see what it really means to them.
Yeah. And they've made the effort to come
To see
knowing
Yeah.
you,
that they
yeah.
have a chance of having that kind of interaction.
Totally. And yeah, you're so, yes, right on the money. And also sometimes you get these gifts from them, which is
Mm.
Oh.
even more remarkable,
Yeah.
right? That they'll come in and they'll go, hey, I made you this picture, or like, hey, and you really see how much it means to them. Like in the ones that I've been doing recently too, sometimes, they'll ask for a hug and you'll have this exchange and they break down and cry.
Oh.
You've had, and I think it's amazing, because I don't think we have a sense of how much it means to
Hmm.
Yeah.
people. Very,
Mm-hmm.
very lucky. I feel very, very, very lucky for all of that.
Okay, I thought you were just going to say old, but lucky is much better.
What's going on in my head as you were talking about this is, as an artist, you create this content and it goes out,
Yeah.
and to a certain degree you understand that it's going to have some kind of life because you're doing voice work for these characters, or you made TV show and you're doing that. And I was thinking about it as a live performer. So you do theater, you
Mhm.
obviously are in a band, you're a singer, you get this immediate response from the
Yeah.
audience
Mm-hmm.
that I would
Yeah.
think fuels and kind of like keeps you energized and kind of helps with the performance in a way, probably, right? Because when you're getting that kind of response
Absolutely.
back, it feels great. When you're doing voice work or television, you don't get that kind of response. So going to something like these,
Yeah.
conventions,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's almost like this intense, I would think it would be kind of like this bottleneck of feedback that's so intense because there's a lineup of people, or you're in this space where like
Sure.
these fans are just so hungry to get your attention. But it's
Mhm.
like you're there for what, 2 hours or 5 hours. I don't know how they work, but it's like this really short period of time that's
Yeah.
super intense, and you're not performing. You're
No.
you're you,
Yeah.
No, but
right?
I think that there's an understanding that there's an opportunity of this, I'll call it an exchange, right? Where
Yeah.
we get to do that. And I try to make it as special as I can for
Right.
each person, because I do, this is great. If this speaks to sort of what you're talking about, like that feeling of luck, and also how grateful I am
Mm.
for all of it. Because I always say to them, I said, every single person, I said, you're the reason that we're here.
Mm-hmm.
You're the
Right.
reason that the show survive. Like, they can show so much excitement about the upcoming season, or the, whatever it is. And I think I love that exchange, being able to, to do that with them and say, well, thank you
Hmm.
for making it what it what it
Yeah.
really is. I mean, I think that I give a lot of thought now about, the idea of collaboration, and that it goes beyond, like, everything that we do. If we're making in a band, or if we're making a show, or I'm doing whatever it is, it's always art by committee, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not doing this on my own.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that is the thrilling kind of part of it all, because there's that part of the collaboration that happens in the moment, whether you're, but then there's this collaboration with the audience, and whether it happens in the moment, like you're saying, in front of
Mhm.
people right there, which I feel like that's the thing that I feel like I love, and I just feel like I'm hardwired for. Is
Mhm.
I really love that feeding off an energy and
Hmm.
playing in that energy, and
I'm going to speak from the fan side now. I remember I used to
yeah,
program this TV conference for like 5 years. And so I got to meet a lot of creators of shows that I absolutely loved, like Battlestar
yeah,
Galactica and Friday Night Lights and
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mad Men and stuff. And I remember being in LA once and meeting John Hamm and Mike Weir or Mark Weir, the creator of Mad Men,
Mad
and
Men,
just
yeah,
being like so, like you're seeing,
Awestruck.
well, kind of awestruck, but just also but awestruck, not in the way of just being celebrity struck, but just being like, I love what you have created so much.
Mm.
And to be able to actually talk to you and say, man, this character that you've brought to life is just like, it means something to me. Like it
Mhm.
has brought so
oh
much to my
yeah,
life. It's really cool. And especially cool when the performer is not a jackass,
Mm.
which you are
yeah,
not, and which John Hamm also was not. He was
he's not.
very, very, just so warm and genuine and appreciative, and it just leaves you feeling so nice and enjoying that content even more. Like afterwards, I watched Mad Men for all the other years, and I just
Mm.
thought I enjoy it more knowing that this person is just, he was
A
so
good
kind to me
person.
in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
He was kind to
Yeah,
his fans, like he cared
it's
about his
great.
fans.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's
a
really
friend of
cool that you're
mine.
doing that.
I think it just goes so far. I just feel like, I think of myself as a kid or something, having that opportunity, say,
Yeah.
to meet those people that we put up on Mount Olympus, whether it's an astronaut or whoever it is.
Hmm.
Have you experienced the unhealthy kind of fandom? Because I don't know if you've
What?
watched this or heard about this little Canadian show called Heated Rivalry.
Oh yeah, I've heard a couple things.
Yeah, just this is a little thing.
Tiny
It's
little
not doing
show.
so well.
Little show,
Yeah,
busting out of Canada.
Hmm. Hmm.
The
but
biggest thing right now.
yeah, I saw some interviews with some of the key
Yeah,
cast, and Connor Story and Hudson Williams are the main
yeah,
characters,
yeah.
and there have been a couple of interviews where they've talked about how some of the fans, they're really grateful that people love the show and the fans are great, but some of them are a bit much, and to the point where it's almost, I got the impression, without them saying it explicitly, but I got the impression like it's like they're so intense that it's kind of scary.
Oh
In
wow,
what way
yeah.
do you mean? Like that they want to physically
They're
like,
obsessed, and
yeah,
it
Oh
makes
yeah, yeah.
artists
a little
uncomfortable
uncomfortable. Yeah.
enough for them to feel like this is a
Mm.
little much. Now they've of course been thrust into the spotlight at a very short period of time, so I would think
Hmm.
that may have something to do with it. But you go to these
Conventions. Yeah.
conventions and
Conventions
you have
or
these
yeah,
people, and they're so happy and excited to see
yeah.
you.
Do they
Have
ever
you
get
had
carried away?
have you had that kind of?
Nothing. No,
Yeah.
everybody. I've been fortunate, I suppose, but I think that all that stuff is, I guess mostly manageable. I mean, I know that I have been, and I would say this. I'm learning that, with all the good, and I said I feel so lucky, but you got to take the good with the bad. That's
Hmm.
and know that it is out there for everything, right? And I know that there has been stuff that I was aware of at the beginning of my career, especially in voice acting, where there was some negativity kind of thrust my way, and certainly not my way. Any other actors and whatever else, yeah, when they don't like you, sometimes they'll go
Mm.
out of their way to let you know. But I feel like I accept it. It's cool, like it's just part
Part of the
of
Hmm.
what it is. That's not to say the first time that it happened and I was
yeah,
aware of it as a young actor, it was quite, it hurt, but,
yeah,
we're human.
yeah,
Yeah.
But I also just accept that it's just what it is,
yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
Hmm.
I've been, very fortunate and lucky. I love it. I love my
Hmm.
life. I love the way that it's all kind of been going, and again, just feeling really grateful, especially, with these shows, particularly in From and all that,
Hmm.
that we have that kind of it's all very positive and very,
Great.
very loving. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, okay, so why don't we talk about these two big things that are happening in your life?
Okay.
From, they just launched fourth season, first episode's out. So something else that's really exciting happening in your life is
Yeah.
this new album that you've just put out.
Indeed.
So
Yes.
let's talk about these two amazing accomplishments.
Do you want to talk about
Let's.
From first? Because I have been a part of the Fromily since the beginning.
Okay.
Last year.
Very excited. And it is like, and I'm not just saying this because Scott is a dear friend and he's staring at me right now visually, but it is a great show.
Mhm.
And it's by like the director, the main director is Jack Bender, who also was involved in the amazing show Lost.
Right.
So it has some
Yeah.
of that same vibe. And yeah, I'm loving this show. I'm so excited that the show is here. So you had some questions, Mike, because you are newer to the show. So let's see
so
what you have to say.
One, this isn't necessarily exactly about the show itself, but my understanding, I know kind of like broadly about the show. I haven't watched any of it yet, so I apologize for that. But I'm
I know. How dare he?
as an artist, like what I'm really curious about with you, Scott, is how do you approach your craft as this multidimensional artist? And you're a part of the actor studio.
Correct.
And the actor studio is, in my understanding, it's really focused around method acting.
It's known for that.
It's known for method acting.
A certain, yeah.
And this character that you play on From, I can see how method acting would work really well with this particular role because it seems very intense. The clips that I have seen, in my head, I envision the method acting really being important as part of this role. But then I am thinking, okay, well, how does that translate when you're doing voice work? Or how does that translate when you're in theater?
Oh.
Do you have a similar approach when you're taking this craft to the different kinds of medium?
It's a great question. Yes. So I think very fortunately for me, and I will say this too, because I'm deeply into the studio. It was one of the reasons I wanted to come to New York, and it was a gamble, of course, to get in there. You have to go through a series of auditions to get in.
Right.
I should.
And it usually takes people a long time to get in. I just want to say this because I like to brag about Scott. But Scott got in his first try, and
no, that's not entirely true. But in a year, like so, I did an audition, and at the end of the following year,
right,
I got in. So you like a preliminary, and then
right. But you when you did audition to get in, you got in.
I did, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was and I feel very very lucky for that as well. It was a dream of mine, kind of a big full circle moment too. Whole history of the actor studio that I discovered when I was 14.
Oh, wow.
Through James Dean, when I saw James Dean for the first time.
Wow.
And then realized as I was going through my career that there were just so many of my favorite actors, many of your, I'm sure, favorite actors too, who had all in some, like not all of them, but some of them who had at least come up to the New York scene. And there is an actor studio in Los Angeles as well. Ultimately, what it is it's been known as the home of the method. I mean, the method is a really tricky word, as you know, too, because, of course, in the media, it's been kind of dragged through the mud. This was all based in Stanislavski's teachings and then modified at the actor studio anyway through Lee Strasberg had come up with a series. This is how I understand it, is a series of exercises, basically using your own emotional content and your experience to ultimately create as much reality within the context of the scene or the movie or the play that you're doing. So to get back to your question, if that kind of sets that up, I try to apply that as much as I can to the work that I do now. I certainly, obviously prior to New York, I wasn't doing that. You're finding your own way. I'm also kind of at a point now too, where it's like even utilizing some of those exercises. I'm always looking for new resources, but it's been so exciting as I'm still learning and will always be learning to keep going in and applying some of this stuff to the work that I'm doing, Voice work, less so. I feel like there's just a different thing going on with voice in terms of how it happens for me, and especially with cartoons too, because a lot of the cartoons that I've done that have sort of been more playful and exist and, you're kind of tapping your inner child. And I feel with that, I'm just sort of accessing something and kicking all the lids off of that inner child and doing all the things that I used to get in trouble for.
Right, yeah.
And getting paid for it now.
And you get paid for it. But in the case of theater, what it's kind of given me is this great an exciting ride of just going in and approaching everything like it's lab. You go in and you go, even on a work day on, on From or whatever it is, right? Where I can go in and go, okay, here's the experiment, and I've done the work on the page and off the page, and now this is where I'm hoping, we'll see what they have for us when we get there. It's cool, And then, of course, like anything else we do in our lives, creatively, it can be hard and frustrating if you don't get there or whatever else.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you feel it working, it's a pretty exciting thing. And then even then, once it goes out, like I said, art by committee, right? Once it's, let's say in a case of a show, you're filming, then it goes out, gets edited and color corrected, and and you don't know what's going to come out the other side. You really don't.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you, as you were talking about like voice work for animation and then theater and stuff, like because you use your voice in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And theater actors, you're not usually wearing microphones, right? Especially in some of the more intimate venues. Or are you nowadays using microphones?
In theater?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I haven't, not in the,
Right.
in the limited stuff that yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in voice work, you're obviously right in front of a mic and you're in a studio and all.
Yeah.
Do those aspects of using your voice in different ways, how do they affect your singing?
Oh,
Do they
that's
strain your
great.
voice in any ways?
Yeah, it depends, right? Sometimes, in some cases, I remember back in the day when I was doing my animation, more actiony kind of cartoons, you're doing a lot of yelling. There's a lot of like
Yeah.
high volume. a lot
I
of the
remember
time.
some of the yelling in the play that I produced of yours.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of yelling in that.
A lot of
That's
yelling.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Naked
that's why,
Hamilton.
yes, like sometimes I
Yeah.
wonder, do you ever like blow your chords out?
Yeah. Of course I have. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think back then too, I just didn't. I never really took super great care of it. And it was once I was playing back in bands again and trying to manage both that I realized, oh yeah, I got to be better at that.
Do you know what? I just had this crazy memory, Scott. I was organizing this huge fundraiser for Toronto Cat Rescue. And
Oh, yeah.
Scott was going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
our main performer.
Okay.
I
And
remember this.
And the day of the big
Yeah.
fundraiser, he messages me and says he blew out his vocal cords.
Oh no.
And we were like, oh my God, what the fuck? And
A big event. You had produced a big event.
it was a big
Like, that was-
event. Yeah. And it was like the key fundraiser for that charity.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we were all like stressing. And I was like, obviously, I don't want you to injure your
right.
voice. But
Yeah.
Scott, being the caring person he is, he's like, he went to the doctor and he got a steroid injection.
What?
I had a
Right?
steroid. Only time I've ever done that. And while I don't think it sort of becomes highly recommended,
Yeah.
they issue these things, they do it. You think of these people working and singing 9 hours a day, and you remember, I got my voice
Yes.
back. It's a marvel. But they literally said you have a window of whatever it was, 5 hours or 4 hours and I remember as soon as we finished that show and we were loading out, it was like it was my pumpkin moment, right? Where all of a sudden I went, whoop, and
Right.
I lost it again. And it's funny, about a week ago I had a recording session with Fresh Horses here, and we had to change it because I felt something coming on, and I just knew the next day.
Oh no.
We had to record, and I'm like, record? Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
Luckily everybody was,
Nice.
they were cool
Yeah.
about it, whatever. And I just said, "Sister, can we reschedule?" And we did.
Let's talk about the music because
Oh yeah.
obviously we're a podcast about music, and From is an
yeah.
incredible show. And I know that there are other castmates that you have who are musically inclined, and sometimes you guys have jam sessions and stuff. So I'm
Oh yeah.
curious about what life on set is. But
Yeah.
also, like with Fresh Horses, like you've been away from music as part of
Yes.
your professional life for what, like 8-10 years now?
Well, because it's about that, because once I got here, it was about the studio
Yeah.
and just growing as an actor. I think that's what I wanted to focus on. So even though music is still such a big part of my life, you know that, because you and I
Yeah.
were even we're dance parties
All the time.
like this all
we
the time
we do
together.
virtual dance parties during the
Was
pandemic
Mike ever
all the
part
time.
of the dance party
No.
thing? Were you ever
I
part
don't
of
think I was ever invited to the virtual
You
dance
never
parties.
got invited.
No.
That's right. It was an elite
Now
club,
I'm
Mike.
feeling bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike.
I never
We-
make the cut.
You did make the cut on my 50th birthday party that we did
Yes.
it was live, like it was not live, well, kind of live karaoke
Yeah.
via Zoom.
Oh yeah.
It was a
That's
hot
right.
mess.
It was a hot mess, but it was
It was fun.
amazing. Yes.
It
Yeah.
was fun.
So, Scott, I wanted to know
Yeah.
what it feels like to get that part of your passion back.
Yeah, it
And
was
whether
huge.
was it just like riding a bike?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I was still making music. As a matter of fact, I was even at the Actors Studio. I was starting to, and I'm still, I guess, in process. We've just put it down for a moment because we got busy. But there's another actor good friend of mine, Chris Stack, at the studio, and he and I were developing a show about a band in Indiana who all get back together.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
were developing this thing. So we were trying to develop it, working on it at the studio. So he and I were playing and writing for that.
Mm-hmm.
He's a drummer. He was actually part of this really great show, Stereophonic, that was the biggest hit on Broadway, I guess,
wow.
last year, the year before, and he just got back. He was just doing it in the West End.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, I think it was just because I was in that world. And then Rod Hall, who is the other part of Fresh Horses, bless him, he and I met. I just love how this happens. It just happened that we were standing in front of our kids' school. Our kids both went to the same middle school. We dropped them off one day, and for whatever reason, he and I started talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd see each other again, and then I found out he was a musician. And then, we started, then we checked each other's stuff out online.
Cool.
Again, bring back to the website thing. And then he called me one day and he said, we should get together and write some shit. And I was like, yeah, great. I went over and we did that. And then one of those songs ended up on his solo record. And then he was like, do you want to come and sing on that?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, one thing led to the next, and then before he was doing the record release, and then I sang there, and I think that was the moment for me. We did it at the Bitter End, the oldest rock and roll bar in New York, and I can't even begin to tell you guys the legacy of that place. Like, and that's a great music venue. There's no TVs, you go in and it's live music, and people come there specifically for that. It's anyway. Brod's doing his record release there, and I remember I got up and I sang one song. And he's got he plays with these, the most amazing, New York's finest. And I came off again feeling so incredibly grateful, so lucky. And it was a beautiful spring night in New York. And you guys know New York and the Village. And I was skipping home, and I came right home to my wife, Kelsey, and I said, why the balls am I not doing this?
Yeah.
What have I been doing?
Yeah.
So then I had to muster up the courage to ask this amazing, and Rod, I should have said right off the top, he's a guitar player and a songwriter, singer-songwriter, and just one of the finest people and most amazing musicians and most tasteful musicians and amazing lyricists. And I felt so lucky to be, connect, with him. And we just really complemented each other, I think, in terms of our energy and creativity and all that stuff. We seem to create music together very easily, and and when you find those partnerships, right, you guys have here on the podcast, it's a beautiful thing, right? So I was trying to muster up the courage to ask him if he wanted to do a music project together, and then I finally did, and I called him, and it was funny. We had that moment where he goes, "Oh my God, I've been doing the same thing."
Isn't that so cute?
Yeah.
Scott was telling me the story just recently, and I thought it was just the most adorable thing. Like these two guys, grown men, established artists, thinking like, "Oh man, I really want to ask that guy if he'd write some music with me, but how do I do it?" Like it's so cute.
Anyway, it's been a wonderful experience, and immediately we sat down. First meeting, we had a song. Boom. Just
that
right
you said that to me in the conversation, and I really wanted to.
Yeah.
Because you just said too right now, you said like it just flowed right away.
Yeah,
like how though? You guys are two people, you come into a room and you're like, let's write a song, and you just by the end of that day you have a song?
I think that there's a flow that you can tap into. It's not always there, certainly not for me, but I think part of it, Priya, is like any of this, and you have this with Mike, there's a collaborative thing where like you can be around somebody and just be yourself and and feel like you can be open to it in a way, where you're not going to get judged or hurt, or there's certain people you can be around. I have that with Chris Stack at the studio too, where I feel like a lot of my family at the studio, where we can just create from that place.
But you didn't know this guy. That's what I mean. Like it was, you guys didn't know each other, right? So
no, that's a great point.
That's really cool.
There was a thing that we just, it was immediate, and music is like Rick Rubin, Rick talks about, where music is very immediate for us too, right? It makes us feel something right away, right? It lands, a note can play and we know what song, and it makes us feel a certain way, right? It's so immediate. And there was something in that I also think because Rod and I, up to that point too, had already having collaborated. I think that there was our influences and things too all kind of, that get filtered through that. We were aware of that. So our music, our individual music, I suppose, really spoke to each other and connected. So I feel like it was already in place. You know what I
Mm-hmm,
mean?
mm-hmm.
Like for us to kind of go, okay, let's just kick open the gates and see what happens. And, you know, we just went with it as much as we could. And the process was, which was cool, was, you know, no judgment. Let's just write songs. There was no like, hey, we got to have a band and do a thing and whatever.
Right.
It was just more about like, let's just create some
Create.
music there.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe we could get some of these guys, these amazing players, you know, to play with us. And so I came home and I sat down and I dusted off my guitar. What I would do is the process was, and it was literally like this in a lot of cases, not always, but in most cases, where um, Rod would come to me because he's, you know, obviously the man of experience, and he would come to me with, let's say, a fully formulated tune. Hey, and he's kind of magical that way too. Hey, I just came up with this song and it's complete, and here's all the lyrics, and
Wow.
what do you think? And you know, and he would drop something like, oh my God, and it just really spoke to me. You know, it was, and I would say everything did speak to me. And I think he felt the same way. And my process was more of sitting there and just kind of banging something out. I'm not the musician he is, but I can play the guitar. And then what I would do is I'd come up with something and mumble over it. I would start just throw my phone on and just go, hey, I got this thing. And I would kind of try and give him a form of a song with the ideas that I had, you know, let's say a bridge a verse and a chorus, and then maybe a bridge or not. Maybe I just had a verse and a chorus, but I would play it out in kind of a structure and send him that. And he would come back within sometimes a half an hour, but like an hour with a lyric. Because in the mumbling, he would hear me, and sometimes I would say a word or a line that I was just hearing. So I'd squeak that out, and he would build a whole song around that line. And so, you know, these lyrics would come back, you know, you just text them, you know, on a page, and I'd be like, oh my God, Rod, these are great.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the album is I would say, is comprised mostly of songs that were constructed that way, where we were just back and forth, and sometimes they were very fast in that sense. And then others, you know, admittedly, you know, there were some that we had something for, but we would change the feel of the song, and then the chorus maybe took weeks, you know, to kind of really finesse. But we have a great back and forth that way, and it does feel very immediate. And I like that Rod responds that way.
Well, we had a couple of sneak peeks at some of the music, and I'm going to ask you how you would describe it, but I would say like it gives me a really sort of like jazzy funk soul vibe. But what category would you put this album in?
I don't know. I think it speaks to all those things. You know, the genre thing is always so hard. I think that what's cool, you know, even the name, right? Fresh Horses. There was no agenda in terms of what we're creating. There's no like initial vision of something. We just make the music we love. You know, like I would say, there's a little bit of everything in there. I think, you know, like, and Rod's got, you know, really good lean on other genres that I'm not as familiar with. You know. Yeah, I would say everything's in there, right? I would say folk, country, blues, some, you know, old R&B, soul, rockabilly, you know, like it's all in there.
I can't wait to listen to the whole album. That's fascinating to me that you've covered so many different genres on one album.
Yeah. And we weren't, you know, we certainly didn't like, what would be the word, discriminate, let's say, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like something would come through and then we'd go, oh, that doesn't fit. You know, I ultimately, and I think Rod did too, he's want to make some music, play with these guys, Conrad Meissner on drums and Andy Hess on bass and Rob Cloris on the keys. My friend Emily Jackson, who actually played my daughter in a play, but she's a musician in her own. You should check out Emily Jackson's stuff.
Okay.
She's singing backups on one of the tracks in here. Yeah, we've got like this amazing group of people that came together and brought it all to life. And I'm the most excited about this record than anything I've ever made. As I just wanted to make a really great summer record. That was my thing. Like something that I pictured, you know, you're out driving and you throw on and you know, and it really just light the sun comes out, you know, lights you up.
So in this world we live in where social media and online presence, basically anyone can create any content, upload it and put it out there.
Oh yeah.
You know, in thinking about the connection you have with Rod and just how free you feel about creating together, I'm thinking about like, that's very different from these people that I see on Instagram who are, you know, really intentionally, they're getting their work out there because they're trying to get that recognition and a record deal and become a star maybe, right?
Yeah.
I'm not getting that impression from the way
Oh,
you've talked about this
right,
project.
right,
You
right.
guys, you have your own successes, and this is really almost like a creative outlet and a project that you just want to work together and just like, feel
That's
and
it.
express and make something magical.
Make something we really, really love and share it. And yeah, there's no mandate other than or again agenda, sorry, other than just that. Again, I feel like I've learned a little bit in terms of the promotional stuff. Like we'll still have to get behind it in that
Right.
way, I suppose, if we want to get ears on it. But I through From and doing that stuff with From some of the social media stuff, I feel like I picked up a few things, and I actually enjoy some of that in audience
Mm-hmm.
engagement. And
Mm-hmm.
I can get into that. There's an art in that. It just feels so good to be kind of swinging back into that whole world. I think so much about what it is to like how we define ourselves as artists anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't
Mhm.
really know if I want to put a lot of energy into thinking about what that is. There is sometimes with art and anything, whether it's music or whatever it is, where I feel like, God, have we really kind of killed it a bit with too much analysis? Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm,
Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
just want to go in and look at the painting and not be
Yeah.
told anything.
Yeah.
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 You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me just hear the song. Don't tell me how you did. Or let's go see the movie without seeing all the behind the scenes stuff
Mhm.
before the movie even came out, you
Right.
know?
Mhm.
Right.
You guys have seen that clip of Ethan Hawke talking about art and how vital it is. Have you
Right.
seen that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the most beautiful speeches I've heard
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And I think it's so true, where he says that thing where he goes, isn't it funny that like not a lot of people read poetry or do this or whatever, but the second someone dies or the second someone, I don't know the exact quote, but he says, or we fall in love or we're going to lose our
Mm-hmm.
minds because we're so crazy about these, that all of a sudden it becomes this vital thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Priya, even some of my greatest life memories are with you, like when we went and saw Heart.
Mm.
Yeah. Mike was there too. We
You
were
were
all
there, Mike, you
there
were
Mm-hmm.
there.
That's right.
at the
Yeah.
amphitheater that we
Yeah.
were talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
Outdoor venue, beautiful
That's
summer
right.
day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was
Right
great.
before that was right before the
Yeah.
pandemic as well
Yeah.
that summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget any of those moments,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is really important to also note, I agree with you. I think everybody has these moments where they've experienced something and it's really moved them in some way,
Yeah.
or it's been that moment. But I think one of the differences that sets you apart from me, and Priya, you apart from me as well, is you may have the similar experience of being moved, but
Right.
it takes a different kind of person to have the confidence or it's not gumption.
The
It's
chutzpah?
Insanity is what it is.
well, no, it's the fuck. It was it's at the tip of my tongue.
But I think I know where you're going with it.
Yeah, like you
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 step
need
out and actually try it.
and actually
Mhm.
try it.
Mhm.
I think it takes a really special kind of person to actually put themselves out there. Vulnerability, that's the word.
Mm.
And be vulnerable and explore wanting to try that out and wanting
do
to
that.
make a go of it.
Yeah.
People like me, yeah, I get moved by art and music and all kinds of things, and I'll dabble, but I certainly don't have that confidence to try and make a career out of it.
I think it's, we're driven by different things too. I think
Mm-hmm.
low self-esteem. I think the need
Mm-hmm.
for attention. There were other things in there too that will also, right, throw you out there. Like I think I was just a
Yeah.
kid that like just loved having the attention,
Mm-hmm.
and would literally do anything for the laugh or whatever, right?
Right.
I also just think I realized too that, and much like you guys, and this is where I think we're all very similar, whether we're performers or not, or whatever else too, is that I think and what I'm trying to understand about, again, getting back to this artist's life thing, is I feel like I just want to live a really creative life,
Mhm.
creative living to me, and I think that is my connection. It has been with Priya, certainly that we align that way. You too, Mike, and then what you guys are doing here. And I think that to me is always like, that's the key to a great, for myself anyway, a great life. I think,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
that's when I'm not attuned to that. And of course that can be anything, whether we're right. Like
Yeah.
being creative doesn't mean you have to be a performer. I'm just saying,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever that means to you. Yeah, I think I was also just, and maybe to my detriment, one of these do or die types too, right? Where I was like, well, there's nothing else that I'm going to do other than this.
I
You
think
kind of
that's
have to
amazing.
be.
No, I think
I feel like for performers, you kind of have to be that way
You
to
kind
be
of,
successful.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't
I don't
have a
want to
plan B.
encourage. There's never been a moment where I've like, I gotta not I got to put all this down. I've shifted throughout my career and focused on different things. Like, like I said, 10 years about, it's been like here, it's been about the acting. But I think that to kind of bring this full circle back to music, do you guys have a profound music moment, each of you? I'm just curious because I'm tired of talking about myself.
Well, I did remember this, and I've talked about this before. I recall being, I don't know how old I was, maybe 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And being curled up on an armchair in the living room by the big window and had big headphones on. And I was listening to Anne Murray, and I was listening to her album. I don't know what the album was called, but I remember some of the songs. And like, this is something that always amazes me, where I haven't heard a song in 40 years, but I know the lyrics to it. And I remember that song was like, we'll be shadows in the moonlight.
Yeah.
Darling, I'll meet you at midnight. And I listened to that entire album just by myself. And I was just like, I was obsessed with that album. Now, Anne Marie hasn't performed in decades, but that memory of listening to that album, I think that was where my love of music began. And then the Beatles kind of came into it because my dad was a big Beatles fan too.
You're a Beatles fan. How old were you in the Anne Murray thing? How old?
I think I was like 7 or 8. That for me was a moment that stands out from like the earliest musical moment that I can remember.
And I love that about that story that you were sitting in a chair, like you were really listening to music. You know what I mean?
That's all I was doing.
It wasn't a shoe store where you heard a song and you went, what's
No.
that? Nothing wrong with that either, but I'm just saying you were actually invested.
Yes. What about you, Mike?
There's a variety of moments. So, I grew up in a house like your parents where music was playing. My parents were from England, the Beatles, Paul McCartney and the Wings, Chicago.
Yeah.
We had that kind of music playing all the time. And as a kid, my brother and I, he was about just 2 years older than me, and we shared a room, and we had a record player, but it had a jean print on it, like jeans.
Oh,
yeah.
Denim?
Denim. That's it. Yeah.
Very cool.
And I remember it was white on the inside. But, my mom and my dad, when they emigrated to Canada, they brought all of their 45 records. So they would put their records on the record player, and then they got my brother and I a record player. I grew up watching the Jackson 5. It was a cartoon at first.
Wow, that's
so
a
my
flashback.
exposure to music was really always there. And it just was something that those were the happy memories that I remember in the house for the most part.
Yeah, interesting.
And then, my parents, they divorced, and there's certain music that I couldn't listen to because it just reminded me of it. But, one of the things growing up was we were quite poor, but my mom every month would buy a new album. And she stayed, current. I can remember buying The Police, Persona Non Grata. And every month we would get the treat for the family was a new album. And so music was always part of the fabric of my life growing up. And so that's kind of my connection with it, and how
beautiful, though.
It's built into my DNA in a sense.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I don't think I knew that story. That's really cool about the buying a new album a month. You've never talked about that.
Yeah. That was like the family treat each month. Like we couldn't afford a lot, but that was the one thing that was kind of like the treat for everybody, and we all enjoyed it, and we'd put on the record, and we sang every song, and my mom and I would dance in the living room together. It was so
see,
lots
so
of those great
beautiful.
sort of memories.
It's so good. My wife's dad, who's passed away, but he was a really avid music guy, and she talks a lot about that, about the memories of what the music was in their house, and then he ended up giving us a lot of his records. And there's this magic thing that happens here, like Kels has, there's those couple of records from her childhood, right? You put them on, and the way it lights her up.
Yeah.
Every time. That's an amazing thing, it really is.
It's the
It's
power
more than
of
just
music.
nostalgia or something.
Right.
It just can take you, we talk about that a lot. It just can take you right back to a moment, an emotion, just as if it was just like yesterday.
Yeah.
And it could have been decades and decades ago. All right, Scott,
thing.
we're going to wrap it up, but I want to
Yeah.
ask you, because we didn't talk about this and there's obviously no pressure, but I thought it was so cool that you have recorded a version of the From song. How would you
Yeah.
feel about singing a couple of bars of it?
Yeah, I could do that. Sure.
All right, guys. Well, we have been so delighted to have one of my besties joining us on the podcast. Thank you so much, Scott Matheson McCord.
you.
It's been amazing. You
Matheson
guys,
McCord.
Matheson McCord, because they have used both their last names in their
Oh,
names.
I didn't know that.
So
Great.
we refer to them as the Math Mords for short.
Okay.
But we refer to each other as dude, as you
Okay,
noticed
yes,
earlier.
Yeah. All right, little listeners, thanks for listening to this episode. And if you want to check out From, that is on MGM. That's or Amazon Prime. Is that right?
And Apple TV.
And
I think.
Apple TV, yes.
And follow at Fresh Horses Music.
Okay.
Yes, but before we let Scott go, we have a little treat for all of you in the Fromily and all of you who just love his music. He's going to sing us out with his version of Que Sera Sera.
Well, when I was just a little boy, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be happy? Will I be rich? Here's what she said to me. She said, Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see, no. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see.